welcome to Ladies of Another View on back.
Happy Monday!
Oh, Monday, yep.
Absolutely.
We made it.
And it's sunny.
And it's sunny. Sun
Start of the
shining.
week. We're going to add some sunshine today with Jan and Mary, the three amigos. And we're going to be talking about, later on in the show, we're going to visit with Representative Ben Koppelman about a bill that some people are calling hateful. I think it's anything but hateful, of course. So that's why you're going to get our view.
Everything is hateful these days. I get so, I can't remember what I'm supposed to hate anymore. Thank God we're
going to help you.
We're going to help me so I can figure out what I'm supposed to hate, what I'm supposed to love, and what I'm supposed to say.
You must assimilate.
Must assimilate.
Mary, I want you to hate what's going on at the border, because that's what we're going to talk about right now.
True.
Did you know there's a crisis at the border?
Yes, I did.
Ongoing is the right word to add to that.
Except the word is not allowed. Nobody is allowed to say there is a crisis at the border. That's orders from on high.
And we're talking that crisis at the border might come to a northern border right up here, coming to a border near you real soon, right here in North Dakota.
Interesting that the Democrats who complained loud and clear about what Trump was doing at the border, all of a sudden silence. They have been told they're not allowed to talk about it. They're not allowed to talk to the media. And you know what? I think this is good. A little bit of the left media is starting to be upset about that.
That's a good thing. You know, they have kept their mouth shut for way too long. And I think that maybe they're looking for a little bit of something to add into their regular repertoire because they're running out of false things to say.
Well, some of them have been following the border under several administrations, and this has never happened before. That like, what? We can have no access. You can't take photographs. The Border Patrol agents are not allowed to talk to the media. And John Moore, he is the photographer who got a big award in 2019 for taking the photograph of the little Honduras girl who was crying because she was separated from her mother, except she wasn't really separated from her mother, but Time Magazine put it on the cover, gave that impression. And he's saying, wait a minute, I don't get to take photos anymore because the Biden administration won't let me. But they did, the press secretary did mess up a little bit, though, because she did call it what she wasn't supposed to call it.
Snafu
I don't know if
season.
we have that video.
Or request for them that they would be partners in dealing with the crisis on the border.
When you were talking a moment ago about diplomatic negotiations between the United States and Mexico, you said crisis on the border. Was that a
Challenges on the border.
Okay, but so that doesn't reflect any change in the administration's view of things.
Nope.
Ooh,
Wow.
somebody screwed up.
Holy buckets.
I know. I thought, I wonder how much trouble she got into.
And then the press called her out on it like they were trying to correct her. I mean,
Somebody in the press,
I think
It's happening.
I think that they're starting to try to take control.
It's happening. But this is the tragedy, is all these families thought, why wouldn't they?
Yes.
Given all the signals from the Biden administration, they thought, okay, we're going to be able to get in, and they don't have anywhere to put them. As of today, the Biden administration says, okay, the border's officially closed. Like, yeah, that's going to work. The problem is that there's so many unaccompanied minors coming in. They don't know what to do with them.
Who is sending their kids alone to a new country and just letting them go? I mean,
Well, and they have to be pretty desperate for that because
Yes.
we know that there are some very desperate people down there and they do want to come to America. So my heart does break for them.
Yes.
But at some point, enough is enough, and we can't even take care of our own at this point, let alone another entire country. But they're saying that there's at least 600 unaccompanied minors per day coming over the Mexican border, and they're trying to find places for all these people. Then after they get established here, that's when they get to go ahead and get their parents to be able to come over because the minor lives here. But what they're doing, the adults that have come over the border, they go ahead and they process them. When they process them, then they take them to a bus stop and say, you're pretty much on your own. They don't give them a date and time for a hearing for them to come back. What they're supposed to do is turn themselves into the ICE headquarters and set a hearing date for them to be able to stay here. Now, who's going to go ahead and walk into an ICE agency and request a hearing? It is a crisis. It's a huge crisis. And they're now thinking about sending thousands of people to Montana, Minnesota, and North Dakota, because we do have a border agency as well, that they think they can help process that. So then where do they end up? Are they going to end up in those man camps up here? You know, we have some vacant man camps from the oil days.
Sure.
I mean, where are these kids, where are these people, where are these illegal aliens going to be? By the way, it is illegal alien. I don't mean to run on, but it's not illegal immigrant. An immigrant comes legally.
That's
An
right.
illegal alien is someone who has come across the border illegally.
Yes. The only official things I've seen are out of Midland, Texas. That's where they say there's 3 or 4 busloads of kids that have been bused into town, or the outskirts of Midland, Texas, and they are being housed in man camps there. And that kind of gives fodder to us thinking that if they're brought here, that's where they would go. There are friends of mine in Dickinson that have mentioned they've also heard inklings of that type of thing, but no facts yet, so hang on.
We're going to find the facts for you, though. We're going to find out exactly what's going on this border.
And you do have to dig, because everything, you know, people are trying to get information. Where's AOC? She did all those photo ops
Right.
when Trump was around. Like, where is she? Why isn't she dressed up in white outfits and taking pictures now? It is a tragedy, though, so I don't want to make light of it. These poor people, they thought they were going to be able to get in, because why wouldn't they? And that's just it. Like, how did Biden not see this coming? How did his administration not see this coming?
Well,
when
they
gave
invited
these-
them. They invited them and said, as
Exactly.
soon as the new administration is in, you're welcome to come. And then he backed off. Well, maybe hold off a little bit. But they, when they do interviews down there on the border, they're saying, no, we were told we were supposed to come. We can come now because you have
That
a new
started
president.
way back with Obama, though. He
It
said
did.
the same thing. And Trump cut off a lot of things that we think were maybe bad at the beginning and found out they were for our own good. And that, I think that's one of them.
But one thing that I noticed, and I'm sure you've all noticed, is when you see these immigrants that are coming towards the border, they're all clean, not disheveled, jolly, happy, giving piggyback rides and bouncing and joyful.
Brand new
There was
clothes, brand new
clothes,
shoes.
cell phone, they
Yeah.
have the whole thing. Now, there was a gal on one of our Facebook posts who's from that area, and she said, no, that is not what they look like. If you have been on the road for weeks to months, marching through Honduras and up through Mexico to get to that border, she said they're almost dead. They are just stringy and straggly, and they've been not eating, not taking care of themselves, and as soon as they get to the border, they just collapse. None of these people fit that description. So something bigger is going on, and we hope we can find the answer to that.
I think there's more than one thing going on, because there are dead bodies being found along the border. Not everybody makes it, and sometimes smugglers will bail where they have a way to get them in. And we just recently, there was quite a few people, was it like 27 people found in a container?
Oh, yes.
A truck container, shipping container. And so they said in February there were 3 times the number usually found dead along the border of Arizona. 181 remains.
Wow.
So this is not something that we can make light of. It's very serious. And the Trump administration weren't prepared for this. They're saying, well, we were left with a broken system. Trump left us with a broken system.
Oh,
Come on.
geez.
Like, no, give me a break.
Come on, man.
You campaigned on that, and now you're not ready for what's happening.
Almost like the broken stairs going into the airplane.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And since when in the United States does the media not get access? Like, this is an ongoing story, and you don't even get to hear about it. But, okay, I know you're going to hear more about this as time goes on, because it's not over, not even close. We'll be right back with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Beck Communications is now hiring independent sales agents around the state. We're looking for highly motivated individuals to take advantage of this opportunity, selling advertising for our news and sports programming on Beck TV and sponsorships for the Bismarck Bucks indoor football team. Independent sales agents will make 50% commission on their completed sales for all products. Beck TV is the leader in broadcasting local sports, owner of the Bismarck Bucks indoor football team, and originator of newly launched news opinion programming. Submit your application now at careers@bechtel.coop. This is an exciting opportunity you can't pass up. 50% commission for independent sales agents now hiring at Beck Communications.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We're going to tackle a very difficult topic, not just because it's painful, but because the mainstream media and the education system, there are so many forces at work against, pushing an agenda against children. And we're going to be talking about transgenderism. Because Representative Ben Koppelman is going to be talking about the transgender bill as it relates to sports on the next segment. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about, what is this about? It's being called hateful. I've been called names, and that I don't care about these children, but I personally think we care about these children even more. We don't want them to be hurt.
I think that anybody that looks into this kind of gets a sick feeling in the pit of their stomach. I truly believe that it's purely an attack agenda. You know, they are going after family, they're going after religion, and they're going after personal individual beliefs. They start talking to kids about transgenderism as young as kindergarten age.
Insane.
Who does that? That's child abuse.
No. It's a total lack of understanding of the child's mind. I want you to watch this video. Walt Heyer was cross-dressed as a child and lived as a woman for 8 years, and now he helps other people with this kind of confusion and says this is child abuse.
To try experimental hormones in surgery, and I stand by that statement. The American Psychiatric Association describes gender dysphoria as a conflict between a person's physical gender, depression, obsessive-compulsive behavior, and many more that make this more than a conflict between one's physical gender and the one they wish to identify as, of discomfort. And it lacks the specificity in pointing to those underlying causes.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate this opportunity to speak today with this distinguished panel. I'm not a PhD, I'm not a doctor, but I want to put a human face on the destructive side of becoming a transgender, as I did for 8 years. I went through the procedure. But we shouldn't be surprised when we hear about the early sexualization of children being involved with this, that's growing to proportions that we have never could have imagined happening.
Yeah, there's a longer video. That's just clips of it.
Right.
So we can go ahead and put the entire video on our Facebook page for sure. But it's something that you all need to see. You need to see the entire video.
Right, because the stories. I also watched a video of him being interviewed by Candace Owens, and he said his grandmother dressed him as a 4-year-old in a purple dress, and he got a lot of attention. And it confused him growing up because she used to do it a lot. And the problem is he ended up being sexually abused, and he now has an organization that helps people transition back. And he said 50% of the people that he works with have been sexually abused, and that we're totally ignoring it and letting these kids down and not coming to understand there's something going on here that needs to be looked into. Instead, they're given shots, they're given surgery, and let's rush these little kids into something they don't even know what they're talking about.
Well, and that's just it. And I think any child at some point during your life, you wished you were a boy or you wished you were a girl. I mean, it just depends, you know, on the time of the day, for that matter. And I've said this before on TV. When I was younger, I wanted to be a boy so bad because I was the 5th girl. And then right after I was born, I had a little brother. And so I thought it'd be so cool. And I was always a tomboy. I really was. But thank God there wasn't something like that back then, because what a miserable way. I mean, so there's going to be people who you want to be a boy or you want to be a girl. Susie gets a pretty little dress. Well, it'd be nice. Susie's getting attention. And so that's the part that people get confused with. It's like, this is not gender dysphoria. This is just, oh gosh, I wish I had a doll like that. Oh no, you're a boy, you can't play with dolls. And so there's a lot of mixed signals for these kids that they don't understand. They just don't get it.
But why is an adult jumping in to tell them anything related to that at all in the first place? You know, it just because a brother wants to play with a doll with his sister, that doesn't mean that the parent should jump in and start dressing him in dresses and sending him to school and telling him that he has to grow his hair and have a ponytail. And
It's just ridiculous. It's almost like the parents are living vicariously through these kids, and it is sad.
Well, you look at the celebrities. There's dozens of pictures of very famous people. Here's my daughter, but it's a butch haircut and dressed in boys' clothes. And here's my son, and it looks just like a girl, and they've got makeup on. It's like, what are they doing to these kids?
And what is the next generation going to be? You know,
warped.
Once they find
Totally
out,
warped.
Once they find out that all of this isn't going to work, because we know it's not going to work, what's going to happen with our society? I mean, we're going to need lots of mental health professionals.
It's all about acceptance.
There are thousands upon
everything.
thousands, tens of thousands of people that are saying, I regret this isn't what I wanted. Reddit has over 7,000 people on a group that says transitioning back, who said, why was I pushed into this? And here's a woman who wrote in USA Today, a opinion letter. Her daughter told her, I'm going to be transgender, I'm going to be a male, and cut her off. And she said, I will still be here when the transgender movement drops her because she's not convenient anymore, because that's what they do. She says, I will still be here. And she said people who receive these treatments have a shorter life expectancy, a higher rate of mental health problems, and a host of other problems. And their suicide rate long-term does not go down.
Right.
And so why are we doing this to our children and pushing them into this? It's unbelievable.
You know, some of the teachers out there have said things like, well, they need to be exposed to everything so that they can make decisions.
Children.
If you were going to expose my child to something like that and tell them from a factual base that this exists, you tell it to them at an age-appropriate age. I mean, you cannot tell a kindergartner that they need to take shots and mutilate themselves and remove their genitals so that they can make somebody happy that they wore clothes from the other gender. And by the way, there's only two.
That's great.
You're born with one or the other.
Well, there's developmental stages for kids, and so we are infringing on that latent stage where they're not really interested in the other sex. You know, girls like their girlfriends and they want to marry them. That's a little kid thing.
Yes.
But then if you introduce the idea into, you know, because they have different preferences, you know, there was just a few years ago, there was a divorce situation, and the ex-wife was a pediatrician, believe it or not, and she wanted her ex-husband to lose custody of their son because she said, he's transgender and my husband is not respecting this. And the husband recorded the little boy saying, well, Mommy's telling me to be a girl. She has these clothes for me. And eventually it was the woman that lost the custody.
Thank God.
They looked into it. Yes, thank goodness.
Charged with child abuse.
It's just crazy. I mean, and thank God, but we need more court systems that will take care of that or look into that, or social workers that need to help. I'm scared for our future. I really am. It's just it's open season on our children right now, and it needs to stop.
We need to find a way to say no to a lot of things. I mean, it's showing up on children's cartoons.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Disney's embraced it. They have the same-sex kissing in all of their little cartoons, and next it'll be Sesame Street.
And the school system is becoming very, very aggressive at pushing this at very young ages, as early as kindergarten. They're pushing this idea. So, yeah, we need to be vocal. We need to know what's going on in our schools, and we need to not
save our country.
We need
save our
to not
children.
hide and be afraid when they call us haters, because that is not what's going on. Okay, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Indoor football is back in Bismarck. Bucks football season is right around the corner. Grab a friend or family member for a night of action-packed, hard-hitting entertainment. The Bucks open at the Bismarck Event Center May 8th as they take on the Massachusetts Pirates. Catch the sweetest seats in the house right on the sidelines with VIP service at a Bucks turf table. Available now for single-game purchases. Secure your tickets today by calling 701-595-0771. Bucks football, half the field and double the fun.
At Beck Communications, we've been planning for your future. Over the past decade, we've placed nearly 200,000 miles of dedicated fiber optics in the ground. Enough fiber optic strands to circle the world 8 times. Taking no shortcuts, we connected every home and business in our service area with dedicated fiber optics. It's your personal, unrestricted, unthrottled connection to the world. Best of all, this dedicated fiber means you do not share your connection. We call this intimate dedicated connection Beck Fiber.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Ever been in a cave before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the car!
But how will we?
The car! Your offer's been accepted. Ever bought a house before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the closing.
But how will we?
The closing!
Beck News brings you real people and real news. Every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck, and we are joined now with Representative Ben Koppelman.
Welcome.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for
Nice to
coming
be back.
over. It's nice. You look so springy with the yellow tie. And
Well, you know, we like to have that optimism in the legislature.
Absolutely.
Positive thinking is powerful.
You're on the home stretch, so things should be going pretty well, I would hope.
Yep, we always
Well.
get the depression of conference committee at the end, which is
Oh.
always fun, duke it out, but we're ready to go.
Awesome.
Even though you're in the home stretch, you've got a bill that nationally is being followed because there's a lot of, I don't know, back and forth. We're being called hateful if we support it. I'm sure you've heard a few things. But House Bill 1217 on the transgender.
1298.
Oh, 1298. Okay, you know what? That's the South Dakota bill. because
12, 17
they
years?
just passed one too. So I've got my numbers mixed up from state to state, because I think there's 7 different states that are passing some version of this bill, and they just passed one in South Dakota. So we have one here in North Dakota, and it's now in the Senate. It passed the House, right? And what's happening in the Senate with it?
So we had a really good hearing in the Senate Judiciary Committee. I know the Judiciary Committee is trying to work it through the process. They're considering some various amendments, and I don't know exactly all the amendments they're considering, but I believe that the product they're going to ultimately pass will be a good product, and then we'll have to see if it then goes to conference committee or if the House passes the same version. I guess either one of those could happen. What's interesting about House Bill 1298 is when I decided to introduce it, I worked with a couple other legislators and kind of put our heads together, and I was only aware of one bill nationally, which was the one that had already passed in Idaho. And we intended ours to be clearer, more to the point, and more functional than the language that they had in order to be more understandable for all the political subdivisions, as well as survive any sort of legal challenge. And after we introduced that in very early January, all of a sudden I got all these calls from around the country wondering about it, and then pretty soon the news is like 20-some states are doing bills of the same sort, and I'm like, wow, where'd that come from? So I have been called by a few legislators across the state asking questions, and I try to give them my input. Some of them move faster, like South Dakota only has 40-day sessions every year, so they actually introduced and passed theirs faster than we did from our process, but I believe we were one of the earliest this session. So.
Well, I think we were, you know, and if I could toot our own horn, we put it on our Facebook page that North Dakota had passed it, where boys have to perform in boys sports, and we had over 380,000 hits on that from people all over the country because of that one post. And it went on to do more than that later on, but just in the first 2 weeks, it was 380 some hits. And so hopefully, because we had it out there early enough that, I don't know, I'm not saying that we did it, but I think we helped.
So a good portion of at least the state is behind you, and they want this to go. But what kind of opposition are you getting?
Well, the hearing in the Senate was very similar to the hearing in the House. It was trying to make the claim that the bill was somehow trying to disenfranchise some youth from participating in sports. Of course, our position is it doesn't disenfranchise anyone because everyone has a birth sex.
Yes.
And so as long as there is a sport available, you can play it. The only thing it did was determine that we weren't going to have boys competing in girls' sports and creating an unfair competition. And so from there, the conversation opposed to it pivoted to mostly emotional concerns. You know, how do people feel about it? There was very little discussion that I recall about, well, do boys belong in women's sports for competition, or should we have boys and girls sports at all, or just have it all co-ed? You know, that's not where the conversation went. It was that this isn't a problem here. We don't need to worry about it. Now, what we got to keep in mind is if we allow boys to compete in girls' sports, those that identify as transgender, theoretically speaking, if you had 12 people go out for the sport and you have 12 slots, and all the transgender, the boys that transitioned into girls were to be the ones that got the spots, there would be no girls on the team, and then where would the girls play? And so that's really what we've got to look at. That's the extreme, but that's a possibility. And so we've got to guard against that and make sure we keep the opportunities open for women.
And then a lot of people were concerned that girls can't go out for wrestling or football, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But that has nothing to do with this bill, correct?
That is correct. And that was even, I was misinformed about that early on. But as I dug into Title IX a bit deeper, which is, this is essentially going to embody Title IX in North Dakota to keep it going. Is because the girls are underrepresented in the amount of student athletes that they have the opportunity to go out for boys sports. And because there's generally not a concern about the competitiveness of a girl playing in boys sports, only the safety for the girl generally, as long as those criteria are met, they can play in a boys sport.
Great. One of the comments that I've heard is somebody in the education community saying, we're just trying to keep these kids alive, and this bill is so hateful. How would you respond to that?
Well, I don't think this bill directly affects people's life and death, mainly because those on the opposing side, or those that are neutral, are claiming that most, if not all, students that identify as transgender are already competing with the peers of their biological sex. And so if that's true, we're just saying maintain. And so you can't say there's no problem here, North Dakota doesn't need this because nobody's doing this, and then say there's going to be mass death. I mean, the two don't go together, because if they are competing, well, then don't say they're not, and then let's address that issue. So I think it's a lot of scare tactics. I believe this was the stepping stone to full-out gender identity as the policy, as opposed to this transition policy that the High School Activities Association has. I'm not saying the High School Activities Association was intending it to move in that direction, but I think as public pressure and lawsuits mounted, that's where that would go. And even with that policy the Activities Association has, it's still not viewed as the ideal policy nationally for transgender students. So this is not a transgender bill, this is a female sports bill, and the real focus needs to stay on keeping females both safe and competitive in their own sport and addressing other concerns other ways.
In the states that have a similar bill, I mentioned South Dakota, North Dakota, Mississippi, Montana, Oklahoma, New Hampshire, and Tennessee.
Wow.
So there are, but when you think the fact that there's 50 states, I'm surprised there's not more.
Well, and I don't know if you mentioned Mississippi. I believe they passed a bill
I did say
already.
Mississippi.
And I had heard Missouri was going to have a bill. Is that on your list?
I didn't have Missouri, so maybe they came up with one.
And there are also, I believe, 4 states that have a policy in place that is similar to our bill. So in practice, I believe Texas is one of those, North Carolina maybe. Of course, Idaho passed a bill that's in court, and I believe there was 1 or 2 more that had policies. So I think all total, if all the bills passed that were out there, plus those that had policies, I think it's about half the states in the country.
So we're obviously watching Idaho.
Right.
What kind of things are they challenging in court?
Well, some of the things that I wanted to avoid was trying to make it only, the bill only apply to males or only apply to females. In other words, absent of Title IX, just going it down its own track and saying we're only going to deal with one sex. Because I think from a legal challenge, you could say, well, you're not attempting to have equal protection under the law and all these things like this. Well, our bill does provide that.
Okay.
And it is consistent with Title IX, so we're not going against federal law. So we were trying to make sure we walked that line. The second thing is in Idaho, they had the colleges in there. So now you're dealing with adults. That's it, and that's what Christine Oman, South Dakota, is asking the South Dakota legislature to address in their bill, is the higher ed situation. So that was a thing of concern in Idaho. The other thing is that I'm not concerned about necessarily from the Idaho lawsuit is we are in a different federal circuit court. And so they are in the more liberal Western Circuit Court that tends to be more liberal than our Supreme Court does. Wow. And so when you look at the circuit that we are in and what many of these other states like Mississippi and others are in, they are in more conservative circuits. And so I think that, those that want to say, oh, aha, it's not legal because of what they said in Idaho, I think that has very little to do with what's going to happen here in North Dakota.
And I assume they're using that as a scare tactic, like you can't pass this, you're going to tie us up in court. And I saw that the American Civil Liberties Union and Human Rights Commission have said that it's unconstitutional, the Idaho bill.
Well, but they're claiming that based on one judge's opinion that stood in the way of it. Remember, that wasn't even the full circuit that made that call. Right. That was an injunction that was reviewed by, I believe, an individual judge. And so that hasn't even gone to that circuit court to see what the ultimate outcome is. The other thing is they're overemphasizing the decision that came down from the Supreme Court dealing with Title VI and other programs that dealt with fairness in employment, fairness in housing, and trying to assume that now that's going to apply to everything, that there's going to be no true lines between sexes, only gender identity. And I do not believe that's where our Supreme Court's going to go, and I don't believe it's where our circuit court is likely to go.
And this could actually be a test case, right?
Well, it's going to be first to the finish line probably, and whoever sues first and all that sort of thing. It's certainly not meant to be a national test case. It's just meant to protect our girls in sports. But if it is, so be it.
So you'd expect it to go to court?
Well, that's really up to the opponents. I believe our Attorney General will do his job and stand up for the bill in court, and we'll try to ensure that the law we pass is upheld.
Obviously, we have a lot more to talk about.
And we will talk about that when we come right back with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Today's households have more digital devices than ever before. More links to family, business, education, and entertainment. Beck Communications spent over 10 years building North Dakota's fastest fiber optic internet service. Beck Lightband Internet, outpacing speeds in large cities nationwide. Lightband Internet handles all your digital needs without throttling your connection to the world. Beck Communications, valuable digital connections in rural North Dakota.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We've been talking with Representative Ben Koppelman about the fairness in sports and how that relates to girls' sports in grade school and high school, right? And before we move on to another topic, the marijuana bill, is there anything that you would like us to know about the sports bill? Should people be weighing in, calling their senators?
Well, absolutely. I think they need to call their senators, and I think there's a few elements that we need to make sure stay in the bill as it works its way through the amendment process and ultimately comes back to the House, or there's some conference, and I can explain that in a minute if you'd like. But the elements of the bill is we need to make sure that we're dealing with taxpayer entities, taxpayer-funded entities. So our park districts, our school districts, and cities and things like that, and whether or not they use tax funds to in the proper way to ensure that if sports are girls' sports or boys' sports, that they're geared in the proper way based on what the law says. And if we do that, I think it would have the effect on anybody that's K-12 or younger. How it affects private entities, we offered some amendments to the Senate to take care of some club sports where the state doesn't really govern it. It's just they happen to be a rental tenant, and we don't govern other rental tenants. So the point was made where maybe we shouldn't in this regard, and so I offered an amendment there, and I offered an amendment dealing with convention and visitors bureaus to allow them to promote. They use lodging tax for their stuff, but they don't poll the entities that they promote and say, hey, what's your belief system and how do you operate things? And so that was kind of difficult for them, so we offered an amendment on that. So those two amendments I offered to the Senate. I believe they're considering some other amendments, but I want to make sure that the key pieces, which is all of our young people, all of those that are not adults, that they're protected from taxpayer funding of events that maybe are supposed to be for females but aren't exercised that way. So if you don't know how this works, the House passed a version of the bill. Now the Senate, once they get done amending, they'll get it out of committee, they'll pass a version of the bill. Now if that version happened to be identical to the House, it would immediately go to the governor. If it's different than the House bill, which I assume it will be, then it comes back to the House in the Senate form, and the chairman of the committee oftentimes will talk to leadership, they'll talk to the bill sponsor and other interested people and find out, do we want a conference on this? In other words, do we want to find a compromise between the House and the Senate position? Or do we think they made the right changes? Are we good with their version? And if we're good with their version, then it goes right to the House floor for a second vote. So now we'd be voting on the Senate version. Because ultimately, you have to pass an identical version before you can send it to the governor. So one of those two scenarios will happen, but whether it goes to conference committee or goes right to the floor, the House will vote a second time, most likely. And if it changes in conference committee, the Senate might have to vote a second time. We don't know. But ultimately, we'll get it in the same version. It'll go to the governor's desk, and we sure hope he'll sign it. So short term, we need to encourage our senators to pass the bill. I believe the committee will do a good job with it. So when it gets to the floor, the whole Senate, we need to get them to pass the bill, and hopefully overwhelmingly like the House did. The House had a veto-proof majority, I think, in our vote. And we hope the Senate would too, because that message that's sent to the governor then is, hey, please don't veto this. Yeah. So that's what's got to happen first. And then once it gets to back to the House, if need be, we got to tell the House to vote for it. And ultimately, we tell the governor's office to vote for it.
So each step of the way, then, people should be contacting their representatives.
That's right. Unfortunately, it's not a one-and-done type deal.
Yeah.
You don't just get to fight one battle. It's a series of battles, and ultimately, you have the final battle, which is getting the governor to sign it.
Right, and so that's where our viewers come into play. It's like our viewers need to go ahead and continually call, because sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and there's a lot of people on the Hill right now that are against this and say that we're haters because we want fairness in sports. And so you guys, you please call your senators and tell them to pass this. We need it. I mean, here's an example in track. Okay, if you have a biological male running against a female, he might be 6 inches or even 10 inches taller. He's got a longer stride. He's going to win every time. These girls are never going to win a championship. All the transgender males are going to take those championships away. Same thing in basketball.
I heard a report, and I haven't verified it, but that there was a male who was playing in female sports in North Dakota, and they were ultimately the center on the basketball team, or one of the posts, or however they term it, but played the center of the lane. And these 100-pound girls would bounce off, and this person was 6'3", and well outweighed them, and it was just like a blocker in football. I mean, it was just, and so that's the type of domination you can expect, even if they don't physically exercise larger strength, in other words, wrestling a ball away, or even if they don't exercise a lot of exceptional jumping or other skills shooting, just their presence with a larger stature is going to be trouble for fairness on the court. And let's be clear, protecting women's sports is not I've heard the civil rights issue of our era and all that, and I've heard that used in this discussion. And although there may be concerns over those that identify as transgender and how they're treated, I don't believe changing the way we exercise female sports is the civil rights solution to that issue.
Right. It's a complicated issue, and we talked about it, earlier in the show. But it's about fairness in sports and protecting our girls, and so that they can have a real fair competition. So thank you for that explanation. And how about what is going on with the marijuana bill? I know a lot of people are curious about that, and you said you're voting in favor of it. Is that right?
Well, so it already passed the House. I did vote in favor of it, and the reason I voted.
This is recreational.
This is recreational marijuana. It's something that is probably the worst kept secret as far as something they're working to put on the ballot. There was some botched attempts of getting ballot measures on. There was supposed to have been one on this last ballot, and it got goofed up. But those that are doing the ballot initiatives for it are learning from their mistakes. And I believe they're going to pass it. I've heard some people suggest that it would be a constitutional amendment when they pass it, which, believe it or not, although I believe it requires more signatures to get on the ballot, it's still a 50% plus one majority at the vote, at the ballot box, and then it's in our Constitution. And so if it's written poorly, if it doesn't work, if it causes unintended consequences, doesn't matter, the legislature can't supersede it.
And why did you support it?
Well, I supported it because I truly believe that it's going to pass at the ballot box when it comes next time. And I believe, much like when we did recreational marijuana, that was not a constitutional amendment. The legislature had to repeal the entire ballot measure and fix it, replace it.
Medical.
He meant medical, right, you said recreational.
But
right.
we may not have that opportunity in this regard.
Okay.
So rather than do that, I think coming up with a common sense approach to it is the best option. I don't believe that it's going to have many more people have access to marijuana because, quite frankly, in our state, marijuana is pretty easy to get. So I think if this bill passes, we'll have the ability to not only monitor it, but tax it, and that'll provide resources to help people avoid it or get off of it if they use it, and hopefully we'll have a healthier society in the end.
And so can a person grow their own?
I do not believe...
Asking for a friend.
Well, I don't believe the bill that passed the House did not have grow your own in it. I really doubt the Senate will amend that into the bill. I'm not saying that that will never happen, but honestly, I think grow your own makes more sense if you were talking about it from a medical perspective, from somebody who's used it and benefits medically from it, and maybe has limited access to it. But some of the things I've heard discussed about number of plants and all these other things, I mean, you could be the dealer for your entire block if you did that many plants.
Right, so there's going to be regulation issues no matter what, and there already are. I mean, just trying to police it is a nightmare, right?
It is, but we got to move forward.
So we got to figure out how to deal with this. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and I hope you'll come again sometime.
Yep, let me know when you want me back.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate everything that everybody does up there. You know, we don't all agree on everything every single time, and that's the beauty of having everybody up there. And that's the beauty of our viewers. You know, just if you agree or disagree, your voice isn't heard unless you make your voice heard. You have to call. And so hopefully on some of these important ones, you will call in.
Right, and get involved. Don't complain later, right?
Yeah.
Well, we need to know what the silent majority thinks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, thanks again for coming.
Thanks for being
very
here.
much.
And we'll be right back again with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, delivering promotions just for you.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Indoor football is back in Bismarck. Bucks football season is right around the corner. Grab a friend or family member for a night of action-packed, hard-hitting entertainment. The Bucks open at the Bismarck Event Center May 8th as they take on the Massachusetts Pirates. Catch the sweetest seats in the house right on the sidelines with VIP service at a Bucks turf table. Available now for single-game purchases. Secure your tickets today by calling 701-595-0771. Bucks football, half the field and double the fun.
Beck Communications is hiring. Beck Communications is seeking qualified candidates for plant technicians in our Wheatland, North Dakota location. Beck Communications is an equal opportunity employer. To view the job details, visit www.beck.com.
Bechtel.coop. To apply, email your cover letter and resume to careers@Bechtel.coop. Beck Communications, making connections that matter.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View. I'm back for the lighter side today. We're going to talk about losing and finding things. Have you ever lost anything precious?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
And found
all
it?
The time.
Have you found it?
All the time.
Not going to admit any of it.
Can you imagine? Well, you don't have to imagine. Let's watch this.
When it came time to exchange rings, groom Andrew Kent took the box holding his bride's Marley's Tiffany diamond ring. As he opened it, the ring went through a crack in the dock they were getting married on, right into the freezing Lake Tahoe. As Marley and Andrew frantically tried to come up with a plan to get it back.
Andrew was like, I'm getting in.
But the minister convinced him not to because of just how cold the water was. So the ceremony continued, the ring still on their mind. After the wedding, the couple went onto Facebook for help and found Phil Abernathy, the founder of the group Tahoe Scuba Diving. The next day, Abernathy went to work. After 30 minutes of moving rocks, he asked the second most important question.
Hey guys, I have just one last question. And they go, yeah. I'm like, did your ring look like this? And that's probably the picture you've seen where I have the ring and they're going, hurrah! At that moment, it's just an ecstatic, feel-good moment.
A moment that will last them generations.
We have a memory of a lifetime.
Also the butt of friends' jokes.
He says, effectively, well, yeah, you're famous now, but like for being a klutz. I was like, that's all right.
Oh dear.
Can you imagine that moment where she drops it and
I don't know. I would have cried. I would have cried. I mean, something so precious.
Or something like that. Maybe if you are in a dangerous, predicament.
Yeah, that word.
Use like a sterling silver ring or something like that, just to kind of get you through that in case you do drop it, because that possibility is always there. And then you can always have the nice ring later.
Well, don't you have something that somebody has given you a hard time about that you've done? Like he said, he's the butt of all of his friends' jokes now. It's like, I think that I would be a little bit leery to even admit that that happened at my wedding.
Well, they did go public because they were looking for the scuba diving, and then it went viral and people really enjoyed the story. But I just can't imagine. I'm sure they never in a million years thought you would drop the ring. But when you think about it, like maybe a little drop cloth underneath.
Right? That's a good idea, like a rug, maybe a rug over the top of the dock.
Something, yeah. Well, there may be a lot of people forewarned now. Now, when I was in high school, I got a class ring. Back in the day, everybody did. And I spent my own money, and it was like $100. And this is back in 1975. I'm admitting how old I am. And I loved my little ring with a blue stone. And I lost it that summer at the beach. So, I guess a fool and their money are soon parted, and
my
never
husband
saw it
bought
again.
me a necklace and earrings for one of our anniversaries, and we went to Vegas with our family. And of course, I lost one of the earrings. Ouch. So I have an earring and a necklace, and
there you go.
No partner for it.
Well, I tell you what, I have brought on the help with St. Anthony. And if you don't know the prayer to St. Anthony, it's like, Tony, look around. Something's lost and must be found. And I didn't know that prayer until about 10 years ago. I make jewelry, and I bought a bunch of jewelry or stones and whatnot and crystals to make a wedding set for this bride and all her bridesmaids. And so I put on Facebook, I said, I hope the bride's not getting nervous, but I have lost these beads and I don't know what to do. And someone told me about the prayer to St. Anthony, and I use it continually all the time. And I found the bag of beads, I did. But one of the best stories I have about St. Anthony is I couldn't find my car keys one day, and I was running late. I had to go see the kids at their elementary school. It's like I couldn't find them, and I heard a voice. It said, "Pray to St. Anthony." And I said, no, I'm going to save him for bigger things. This is just me. I got 2 sets. I'll find one of them. Nope. I heard this voice again, pray to St. Anthony. And it's like, after about 15 minutes, I heard the voice almost shout at me. It said, pray to St. Anthony. I said, okay, fine. And then, of course, I know I'm talking to Jesus here, yelling at him. Anyway, so I did it. I said it, and I kid you not, within 20 seconds of me saying that prayer to St. Anthony, I found not one, but both sets of my car keys that I had been looking for 2 hours and couldn't find any. One was in a little dish right by the stove, and the other one was in a coat pocket. Within 20 seconds, 2 sets of keys. St. Anthony, you're my saint.
I have similar
awesome.
stories, yeah. And we were with friends on our first floor, and our son had lost, I think it was his phone, and he couldn't find it. No, it wasn't a phone, it was keys, because phone you can always call. And he couldn't find them, and I said, well, let's all pray to St. Anthony. And somebody who was in the group said, I don't believe in that stuff. So we prayed to St. Anthony, and immediately my son goes, I found them. And they were inside of a coat pocket. He stepped on the coat, felt something under his feet. So
Wow.
it was just by chance. But you know what my rule is for my husband? Do not buy me expensive jewelry. Then I don't have to worry about losing it.
Good
There's
idea.
a solution. Prevention.
Kenny, don't listen to that. I love it.
Yeah, I know maybe you guys don't agree with
I'm
it, but
just
for
kidding.
me, yeah, if
No,
it looks
I'm
too
all
nice,
good.
I'm like, okay. And
No, no.
Yeah, I don't want him spending a lot of money on something that I can lose or
I think
ruin
it's
or-
really good when you release your mind and your heart to prayer. It calms you down and you can focus on things better too, and that also helps you find things.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, well, do you have any parting shots before we leave today?
I think that anything that I can do to make this world a better place is going to keep getting put on my bucket list. I'm not going to stay quiet anymore.
Oh, that's awesome. I just wanted to share that I took my 4th child to go tour a school. We were at NDSU this last weekend, so I might have 2 Fighting Sioux and 2 NDSU Bison.
Oh,
I
boy.
guess we don't know yet because he wants to tour UND as well.
It's going to be the tiebreaker, right?
Well, no, I get 4 kids, 2 and 2.
So it could
Oh,
make
that
it the
could be.
tie.
All
It's
right.
going to make a tie,
Okay,
yes.
and so mom gets to go back and forth, mom and dad,
Yep.
for the visit. So
Tied
all
up in
right.
school bills.
Well, coming up next is On the Road with Joel Heitkamp, and we'll see you tomorrow with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Bye-bye.
Bye.